Hey folks, and welcome to the second of my patch 8.3 Catweaving guides. A 3-part series where I will teach you about Restoration Druid Catweaving, starting at the basics for players just picking up on the Resto Druid spec, to those interested in pushing this playstyle as far as they can go. In this video, we will cover the Feral Affinity Talent, easy starting damage combinations for Catweaving on single and multi-targets, and the highest damage Catweaving rotation. If you are looking for the very basics on Catweaving and healer DPS, check out part 1 of this series for gearing and talent advice. Those will be in part 3. All druids have access to Shred, which if you are familiar with Rogue, is your basic combo point generator for single targets. Feral Affinity itself increases your movement speed by 15%, and this stacks with your increased movement speed in cat form. This makes you quicker than most other classes, and with Dash you will likely have much more long range speed than anyone else in your party or raid, allowing you to return after a wipe and revive everyone quicker than they could get there before. Feral Affinity also unlocks 4 new abilities for cat form, 2 more combo point generators, as well as 2 ways to spend those combo points. It also increases your energy regeneration by 45%. The first and easiest to start working with is Rake. As well as generating a combo point, this adds a bleed dot to the target. This will deal double damage and stun if used from stealth, and should be how you begin all encounters. This double damage is overridden if a new Rake is used, so you should wait before it expires before starting with non-stealth Rakes. The second is Swipe, your AoE filler that also generates a combo point. Swipe will be used whenever there is more than one target. Third is Ferocious Bite, the first of your finishers that deals damage based on how many combo points you used. You will want to wait until you have 5 before using this. It also deals double damage if used when you have 50 energy, and you should delay using this until you have 50 energy. Lastly we have Rip, the second finisher that applies a dot that has its damage and duration increased the more combo points used. Like Ferocious Bite, you want to use this on 5 combo points. Unlike Ferocious Bite, you should make sure only to use this if the target will stay alive for nearly its full duration of 24 seconds. Some quick notes before we look at rotations. Like most damage dealer rotations in World of Warcraft, it operates on a priority system. Unlike other damage dealers, however, remember that you are a healer and you should always be prepared to drop cat form and heal. Luckily, while shifting into cat form does use a global cooldown, shifting out does not, so you should always have important healing spells, as well as Moonfire and Sunfire on your action bars, even in cat form, for an easy way to leave and immediately start using caster form abilities. Your energy regenerates regardless of what form you are in, so being only in caster form only loses you auto attack damage. Everything apart from heavy AoE pulls will want you to start in stealth and use Rake on a single target. Remember not to override this Rake with a new one until it expires. You should also use up your remaining energy before you leave cat form to cast Moonfire and Sunfire. Now we will look at easier rotations that are a good starting point to get used to Catweaving. For single target, maintain Moonfire and Sunfire on the target as well as Rake. Since shifting into cat form uses a global cooldown, you will often want to cast Moonfire and Sunfire in one caster form phase. If all of these are on the target, use Shred until you reach 5 combo points, then at 50 energy, use Ferocious Bite. For 2 to 3 targets, you change a few things. This rotation is similar to the last, except Sunfire becomes a higher priority over Moonfire, due to its AoE nature. Shred is replaced as your filler with Swipe instead. Other than that, try to maintain all 3 dots on all of the targets. At 4 or more targets, you can drop Moonfire and Ferocious Bite, meaning you just Sunfire, Rake and Swipe, even at full combo points. At 6 or more targets, you can drop Rake. Just be aware that some packs do have more priority targets, perhaps due to bolstering, so adjust this depending on what you are facing. As you may have noticed, none of these included Rip, and this is the main addition for the more advanced rotations we will talk about next. It is worth noting that in all of the following advanced rotations, it is a damage increase to swap into bear form and use the bear form swipe when you are out of energy. Swapping between your melee forms will not reset your swing timer. This damage only increases as AoE patch get bigger, and I do not tend to do this as I prefer to toss out healing when my energy is low. We are after all healers, and the damage is not major until you reach large target numbers. For single target, make sure you perform the same single target rotation as before, Moonfire, Sunfire, Rake and Shred to 5 combo points, except if the target will survive most of its 24-second duration, use Rip. When you repeat this, you will likely find Rip still on the target, so if it is, use Ferocious Bite at 50 energy to spend these combo points. Unfortunately, it requires very high haste to have the energy regeneration needed to use Rip within its refresh window while using a Ferocious Bite in between. For highest damage, letting Rip expire is worth it to not waste combo points. However, depending on the intensity of the healing you need to do, it may be viable to heal, then return to Cat form when you need to refresh Rip. This is lower damage of course, but most efficient in terms of damage and healing combined. Much like your basic rotation for 2 to 3 targets, you simply replace Shred with Swipe, and then Sunfire becomes a higher priority than Moonfire, though in essence you are still keeping all 3 dots up at all times. Unlike the single target rotation, you now have a second target to use Rip on, so assuming both targets will live near to the 24-second duration, simply alternate who you use Rip on. Just like the basic rotation for 4 more targets, you can drop all finishers. As mentioned before, now is where Bear Form Swipe becomes more viable while you wait for your energy to regenerate. If there are 6 or fewer targets that will live for its duration of 15 seconds, keep Rake up on all targets. If targets will live for its full duration, Moonfire is also worth keeping up. That covers the rotations needed to put out decent damage with Catweaving. But to truly put out the best numbers, you will need to take advantage of all the other systems in WoW. In the next part of the guide, we will look at stats, enchants, consumables, talents, essences, Azurite gear, corruption, and valuable trinkets, as well as sim your character for Feral Affinity DPS.